happy Memorial Day weekend. I'm Malya Levin, and happy to welcome you here to Alliance, New Jersey, site of the first Jewish farming community in North America. We're so happy to be gathered here today and to hang out and schmooze and talk about the unlikely history of Yiddish in South New Jersey. Because to travel through here today, you would, I think, never know, or I would never know, that there was a thriving community speaking Yiddish here for many decades. And we're here to connect with that community and be a part of it. You can see, first of all, I'm happy to acknowledge that this program, this is number 3 of a 4-part series called Speaking Yiddish with Rabbis. This program was generously sponsored by the Salem County Historic Commission. And also this session was generously, the bagels and spreads and delicious treats in there were generously sponsored by the Board of Education. The Board of Jewish Education of Atlantic and Cape May counties. Thank you, Josh Cutler, for your leadership and for being here and bringing members of your community here. We're very happy to all connect here. Thank you for the bagels. They're delicious. Also want to acknowledge June and the Wolf family for their longtime support of life in this area and our beautiful synagogue across the street and everything that we're doing here. So thank you.
My parents were very big supporters too.
Ryman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We lived down there.
Wow, so beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're so happy to all be here today. This is really, really special. And we're gathered also in the within eyesight of this beautiful mural, which we can see one panel of it, which is actually the panel that's most relevant to our conversation today. But this mural was also sponsored by the Salem County Arts Commission, and it was completed last September by noted artist Jonathan Blum, and it really tells the story of the Jewish community here. And this panel that we're looking at right now represents the merging of 2 communities, really, which the first one being the original wave of immigrants who came here in the 1880s and really started the Jewish farms here. And then they were joined after the war by Holocaust survivors who received support to come here and mostly start chicken farms. So if you see, you have a farm animal and a little chick, and we have sort of the wiring is kind of chicken wire, but also represents the
security fences.
Security fences at concentration camps and places where they had suffered so much and then came here to rebuild.
The middle window.
The middle window, as you can see,
it's a turret. It's like a
turret, a guard tower from, you can imagine, like a place in Europe where the survivors had come and had again, endured so much and yet decided to come here and build new lives and rebuild a lot of the Yiddish life and culture that had been destroyed. But was rebuilt, I think we'll learn from Rabbi Lazer, in a really joyful way and a really meaningful way. And so we're here to talk about that and to celebrate that. So, Rabbi Lazer, do you want to join me over here? Okay.
Does the mural go around the entire house?
Yes, thank you. Good
3
question.
sides.
The mural's on 3 sides of the house. The left-hand side, if we're looking at it this way, represents that first wave. You'll see if you go out. I welcome everyone to go out and look. There's a ship. There's Castle Garden, which was where immigrants were processed before Ellis Island was built. And then there's some other imagery around farming, and then actually the third wall over here, which is opposite this.
Now dilapidated.
Thank you. I hesitate to call it a house. This edifice here, which is the remains of the Moses Bayek homestead. Moses Bayek was William's great-great-grandfather. He was one of the leaders of the original settlers here. There's a depiction of this house in its heyday on the right-hand wall of the building, based on one of his daughters, who was Bluma Bayek Rappaport, was a folk artist, and she painted many scenes of agrarian life here, one of several of which feature this house. And so one of those images is recreated on this wall.
In the event it were to fall,
Right.
we would have preserved it
Behind
it
Right.
in art depiction. And over this past week, with the winds, the front of the house fell down. So there's thankfully no one was around, and there's a security fence, but it's ready to face the music and the township ordinance, which will require we remove most of it. So that's the next step.
Are there any options for preservation?
We've explored that. In fact, that was so. As a quick 1-minute segue, I'll come on camera. Also, we're recording this for YouTube for people who weren't here. The house was actually purchased from by the Jewish Federation of Salem, Cumberland, and Gloucester counties about 15 or 20 years ago. And their intention was to preserve it and to turn it into a visitor site, a museum. But in 2008, those plans fell apart. There was the Bernie Madoff scandal, and a lot of Jewish organizations were affected, and funds were not raised to meet the matching funds required for the one-to-one grant from the New Jersey Historic Trust. So those plans fell apart. The house languished, it lied and languished, and Malya and I were able to buy the house back, hoping that one day we could preserve it, but there was a lot of stringent requirements for preservation, none of which I think we could reach affordably. So at this point, I think it would be nice to make it safe and somehow make a tribute to what it once was. I have in mind an outdoor kitchen, like a barbecue, which could cater to the shul across the street and events like this. That's just me dreaming, but that's my 1-minute pitch, everybody. All right. Now the rabbis. Yeah.
Preserve the cement.
Save the brick.
We'll save the masonry.
Okay.
I couldn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Preserve the cement.
There's a original foundation that we can preserve. There's a lot of brick. There's actually some stained glass window from 1890 that's still there, over 100 years old.
Interestingly, this is not our topic, so I don't want to go into too much, but the Federation commissioned a very detailed study of the building, and the parts that were most iconic were actually the least historic. Like the pillars at the front that everybody knows actually were put on later and were seen as not as historically significant. So actually the most historically significant parts are still there. So,
and we'll be talking more. That's the topic for our last session a month from today. Last Sunday of June.
Will be our final session. Right, we'll talk more about that. So I want to introduce Rabbi Lazer Mishulovin, who is among other things, a native Yiddish speaker, Shabbat rabbi at Sons of Jacob Synagogue, a noted Yiddish translator and teacher who has been entertaining and educating us now for a couple of weeks, and we're happy to be here again to talk about this next era of the Jewish farming community.
Thank you very much, Malya. Shalom Aleichem. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces and new faces. All your Shana Punims. Sorry for the delay, a little bit technical.
Our internet is out
Yes.
for the moment.
But we're starting in very nice Jewish fashion. It's 11:18. It's Chai. It's a very significant number in Judaism. And perhaps this afternoon we'll do it in a very Jewish style, in a yeshiva style. I brought with me a plethora, perhaps, of books related to South Jersey, or in particular Alliance and Vineland. This book is called Migdal Tzofim, which means Tower of Scouts. And it's a translation from a series of articles written during the first time the first settlers here in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and has lots of interesting information. But we are now moved on to the what do you call the
Second wave.
Second wave.
Yes.
So we're focusing more in the.
I think we're the only ones who call it the second
Are we?
wave. I don't ever heard it before. It was catchy.
Okay. Well,
so more.
No, it is a second.
It is.
My parents came.
Has
from
anyone
second
ever
wave.
called it that?
And there was
Like,
a third wave too,
Who's
after
the-
World War II, like June's parents.
that's the third wave.
I thought that was the second wave.
So did I.
see, I think that there's a second wave that came over after the settlers had like established
see.
things, and they were like, "Come over, it's good."
I see. So that
I
would
think
be
like Abraham Brotman may
was
have been
the second wave.
technically the second wave.
So the survivors are the third wave then.
Yes.
Can you just give a brief history of what was the first, what were the years of the
Yes,
first wave?
for-
second
Of
wave,
course.
you know.
Yeah. So
Oh, so the first settlers came to this community around to this location. 1882 is the year that's typically quoted. There's a legend that it was 43 families. We have a friend whose name is Jarrett Ross, who's a genealogist who specializes in this area, who's very knowledgeable about it, who says that the legend of 43 families is a little bit of a myth. It's not like 40. It's not like the equivalent of the Mayflower,
Yeah.
where 43 families like got on a ship together. But then, right around that time, there was a planned effort to come here because this was on a train route going into Philly and then to New York, so it was good for commerce. And and because frankly it was cheap land, I think.
So you just sent chills because you said Jared Ross.
Jared, yes.
My maiden name is Ross. My dad's son came in the 1880s, and they were Ross.
Well, if you're related, he definitely
God.
knows about it.
That is, and
He's a descendant of Eckhoff.
The
Those are
Eckhoff
the-
family.
there was an Isaac Ross who was my great grandfather who came. Well, he would be the. Wow, I should get this guy.
Can definitely connect you with him, absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
He's the genie of lager.
That would be weird.
Yes. So anyway,
so
those were the original settlers.
Okay.
They were joined by others, and then afterward, we think that there was sort of more people came in the early 1900s once
Right.
they knew this was a farming community where they could get out of Russia and settle.
Yeah.
And then that sort of continued on until there was this, now I guess we're calling it third wave of survivors who joined them, after the Holocaust because they needed somewhere to come and there was support for coming here and starting chicken farms specifically.
thank you. So
Thank you.
yeah. So now that we're moving on to the third wave, I reference these three books, and most notably the book Speaking Yiddish to Chickens, which the title of this series is a spin-off that Speaking Yiddish to Rabbis, and we spoke about that the our first gathering. There's also a little catalog here of books about South Jersey Jewish farmland, which is includes other towns as well. I can pass it down if you want and look at it. And I want to also make notice, we have a guest that came all the way from Wildwood. Usually today, Memorial Day, people are going to Wildwood. These guests decided to go the other way around, escaped
Ushpi's.
It's not a joke. So I'm not the official historian of South Jersey, but so I reference these books, and from the references, maybe I could talk a little bit about my Yiddish input and stuff. So I'll find it apropos to start, since we are on Memorial Day, a little description here about Memorial Day in Vineland going back pretty early, actually not that early, we're talking about now in this wave. So this is the 1956, so we're fast forwarding a little bit. There was an evening here, or in late May at Vineland's Memorial Junior High School. Those that know where it is. There was an event which was, just to give you a little bit of background here. It was the,
You want me to? I didn't.
no, it was, not yet. It was, let's put it this way, facilitated by Harry Levin, which is
My grandfather, whose house this was.
like, yeah, right, we'll get to them soon. And the goal was announcing the planting of 10,000 trees in the Jerusalem Hills. So it was something sponsored by the Jewish National Fund. And there's a little bit, there was a performer there called Rita Karpinovich, otherwise known also as Karen. Has anyone ever heard of her?
No.
By the way, who's ever been at Alliance Beach back in the heyday?
I was not in the heyday, but in the trash day.
Okay, so you probably have better memories than I. And anyone ever seen some vaudeville here or Borscht Belt comedy? No,
But
it was
the Pioneer
declined.
Women did a picnic. That was a big event.
Okay, was it
My
in
mother
Yiddish?
was in- No. But there were women from that belonged to the Pioneer Women group, the organization, all cooked and prepared, and it all went to the beach, and they had stands, and it was a huge event and a fundraiser, I think, for Israel at the time.
Interesting,
Yeah.
because I did notice over here also a talk, some conversation about if the ladies' luncheon, for example, should be held in Yiddish or in English. I think we'll get that soon. So this was written by a visiting journalist. His name was Shmulevich. I actually found the original article in the foreword about his visit here to Vineland. And he describes this performance by this Yiddish actress from Vilna. She performed a song called Yiddish Kind. And then he describes visiting Vineland could be an emotional experience for New York-based Yiddish artist. Isaac Shmulevich, editor of the Yiddish Daily Forward newspaper, recalled the exceptional anticipation he felt before his many appearances at the JPFA events, Jewish
Pioneer.
Jewish Pioneer.
Association.
Something.
Yeah,
Continued.
Go on.
and the longing when it was time to leave. This was a chance to see, quote, the rare new Jewish settlement on American soil, where farmers had created, quote, a warm, truly Jewish environment, Shmulevich later wrote. Warm Jewish, truly Jewish environment could be summed up in one Yiddish word, Hamish.
I was going to say that.
Or another term used, someone describing, I think, Farmingdale, described it as a Briderlich. Briderlich means brotherly, which is a little Germanic. To survivors, the Yiddish-speaking singers, poets, writers, and actors offered much more than an occasional evening of entertainment. These performances provided a way to stay connected to a language with deep emotional resonance. Yiddish reminded some of lost childhoods, families, and hometowns. For those who had survived ghettos and concentration camps, where Jews of many nationalities would wound up confined together, Yiddish became a lingua franca, at least among Eastern European Jews. More assimilated Jews, who didn't speak Yiddish regularly before the war, embraced the language as an expression of solidarity while in hiding. Nuchum and Bronya, who grew up speaking Yiddish, these are the protagonists of the book, a couple that came here after the war. So they grew up speaking mostly Polish, but learned Yiddish fluently in the woods, that was as partisans. They joined their fellow partisans in renouncing their mother tongue of Polish in protest against a homeland they believed had betrayed its Jewish citizens. For all those reasons, survivor poultry farmers held onto Yiddish tightly. Yiddish, or what some survivors like Brunya referred to as Jewish, became the primary language at JPF meetings and in its newsletters. Members could borrow Yiddish translations of world classics, part of a lending library of 500 books by Jewish authors available Sunday nights at the Veterans of Foreign Wars Hall on Plum Street. Just as survivors in New York helped breathe new life into Yiddish theater, the Glina in Violent helped to revive Yiddish culture in an era when attorney Harry Levin said many of our so-called Native American Jews had almost forgotten what a Yiddish word was, a Jewish play, a Yiddish concert. So today I'm going to try to revive a little bit of that, a Yiddish word, a Yiddish play, not so sure of a Yiddish concert. And
It's why I gave you the green. It's a new green cushion for you for Glina.
yes,
It's a
Glina, Glina, of course, probably have all you know, the immigrants that came here were called Glina, from the word greenhorn. And the Yiddish word, it's Glina, and it maybe also has to do with the green card, or green card is called green card because of greenhorn. My seat is green, the dollar bill is green, and pastoral land in Vineland is green. So look at notes here. Oh, so speaking about the Yiddish book libraries, has everyone ever been to the Historical Society on 6th or 7th Street in downtown Vineland?
Yes.
You're there. It's a two-story historical society where they have a lot of memorabilia from about Vineland. And also
Harry was the chairperson for the Historical Society. His office was across the street from it.
interesting. And they have a section about different ways of migration, like different ethnic groups. They have about Hungarians, Italians, Jews, and also a little one of Puerto Ricans. They said that there's not much, they don't have much replicas or much artifacts because the Puerto Ricans were a little reluctant to give things, so they were a little afraid, so they just have like school art. But in the Jewish one, there's a showcase of some Yiddish and Jewish stuff. And I noticed one Yiddish book, but it's backwards. Of course, the curator wouldn't know that it's backwards, but why would they put it backwards? Could anyone figure out why they put it backwards? In other words, it was upside down. So let's say this was a Yiddish book, it was like this.
Front cover.
So the binding could be the right way?
Because in Yiddish is right to left, right? So they saw the cover on the
That's fine.
on the right side, so they flipped it this way and they put it in that way.
Harry would not have allowed that.
And how ironic, the Yiddish book that they displayed was none other than the New Testament translated into Yiddish.
No wonder everyone's confused.
What's that?
No wonder everyone's confused.
Yeah,
And it's okay that it's upside down, it's right.
right. It's a little bit of a like, it's a shanda. You know, shanda.
The Yehova's
Norman.
translation.
I guessing it's Yehoash. That's why I wrote down my notes. Yehoash was a translator of the Bible and probably also the New Testament.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
He also did the Quran.
The Quran as well? I thought the Quran was recent.
He translated.
Maybe there's an older version of the Quran. Interesting.
Yeah, Bloomgarden did it.
You translated the Quran into Yiddish?
Helen, that this week their book review is Speaking Yiddish to Chickens at the Violent Historical Society.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Today?
No, it's about the.
No, Bluma's a farmer's daughter.
Farmers, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that book is there. Bloomer's thing. So I have a lot to cover today, and I promised some things about that last time. I promised about follow up. Moses Bake's letter to the Yiddish farmer. There was a Yiddish version of Yiddish farmer, which later changed to the English. where if you don't remember, he describes what to plant and what not to plant in Yiddish. And then he writes, I'll tell you next summer how it came out. And unfortunately,
No, it was what not to plant. Then he was like, I'll tell you next summer what to plant, which
you
was
remember that?
hilarious.
You remember-
Wait a year and I'll tell you what to
I
plant.
was focusing more on the translation than actually the content.
Yes.
And so the archives didn't have the next summer, and I'm thinking maybe actually the Yiddish farmers came to an end.
If he's anything like me, my great-great-grandfather, he didn't bother writing that article. I'm just saying.
He dictated it.
I've been there. I'm saying he said I'll get back to it next year. That was his exit stage left.
So maybe the Yiddish farmer came to an end at that point because Yiddish was maybe switching to English, which we'll talk about soon. But I want to get to the most juicy part, which I've been excited to share because I didn't find in any of these books any reference to this scandal. Amongst my research, I came across an old article from the Wahrheit. The Wahrheit is German for truth, Emes,
Yes,
right? You know a little Yiddish?
German.
You know German. Okay, interesting.
Parents are German.
And this was written in 1908. And then the headline, the title is Reb Chaim Velvele. Reb Chaim Velvele, Shir in Goyische Hand. So I guess his name is Chaim Velvele and his last name is Shir, maybe. He's in Goyish, non-Jewish hands. Now, this was something they were already reporting beforehand, and I found some other articles, but this is like the most juicy one. This was someone ended up in Norma,
Let's hear in Yiddish. Want to hear.
and the subtitle is the extract. The Lamed Vovnik von Norma. Lamed Vovnik is the one of 36. There is a legend that you're one of them today.
Oh, wish I would.
You look like one. Sorry?
But they are the holiest people on earth.
So there is
They're like sleeper
36 hidden tzaddikim that no one knows about in every generation.
And not even they know, right? Like,
they know?
Do they know? Or
That's a good question.
If they do, they
That you have to ask
Yeah.
Monty Python. Those the reference. If the true, only the true one denies it, right? There's 36 righteous people that supposedly they're the ones that keep the world alive with their holy power, and no one knows about them. They lead very pious lives, and they are quiet about it. So there was a Lamed Vovnik in Norma, Lamed 1 of 36 in Norma. This is in 1908, 28 September, which the Wahrheit already wrote about, and he takes an aguna. An aguna is a woman that her husband abandoned her, and according to Jewish law, a woman cannot remarry unless she gets a get, a Jewish divorce. And if the husband leaves without giving her a get, she is a guna, which means she's tied down, she's in shackles. It's a very sad state, and throughout Jewish history, there were unfortunately there were agunas sometimes because husbands would go travel for business and get lost, or because they would get lost in the army, or some would actually abandon them. There was a series in the Jewish forwards in the 1920s and 30s. There was a serial column called the Galerie von verschwundenen Männer, the gallery of abandoned husbands. Abandoned husbands will leave their wives, and then the wives would put a picture of them in the paper. Usually, it'll be a picture of a wedding day, so you'll see them with a top hat. I actually not supposed to reveal this information, but I translated a bunch of these articles for I'm not going to say why. And
Women who haven't given up hope yet.
no, maybe one day you'll find out.
Use it for target practice. Genealogy.
Some of my work I have to actually sign NDA.
NDA.
So and they're oh, that's my notes, right?
Yes. How did you know?
And they would say, I'm looking for my husband. He left me because of whatever. If I want him really back, and I'm ready to compromise. If whatever his reason he's leaving for someone, and usually the husband would write back and say, I left because your mother moved into the house, and I'm not coming back until she moves back. This is true stories. Or there was stories that one of them became a Baal Tshuva. That means it became too religious, so they had to leave for whatever reasons. So this is somewhat a similar background, that this woman was an aguna, and he took from this aguna her wedding ring.
Who did?
Islam Dvavnik. So he was a spoiler alert, or actually I'm not going to spoil it.
What? You can't do that now.
And the judge forced him to give back the ring. Now, who was the judge?
Not in 1907.
1908.
No.
It must have been Moses
It was
Bay.
Moses Bay.
Well, it was a Bake, but not Moses.
Oh.
Reb Chaim Velvel, the Lamed Vavnik, or Mashiach, Messiah. Da gehalt zich seit die letzte etliche Wochen verheilt, which in the last few weeks he is in a cave, who erleichtert seine Neshama, where he is like purifying and elevating his Neshama, his soul, is diesen Freitag schwer nicht reingefallen in Goyische Hand. This Friday, he ended up in Goyish, non-Jewish hands. By the way, I translated his last name as Shir. I made a mistake. Shir nit is an expression in Yiddish. It means like, at last.
Wait, is ending up in Goyish hands a euphemism for prison?
We'll soon see. George Bayek was Moses' son, one of the first settlers. Was it Moses' son or grandson in 1908?
Your fingers.
Yeah, and it's probably a name that's translated weirdly. There's Edward, Mayer, Sam, Max, but go on.
Hat ihm schon gehalten beim Arrestieren auf keine andere Beschuldigung, wie hat zugenommen a goldenen Ring von der Frau. He was in the process of arresting him for an accusation not other than the fact that he took a ring from a woman. Reb Chaim Velvel hat nicht gewollt haben können Sachen mit a goy. This Chaim Velvel did not want to have any dealings with a goy. This is 1908, and he's a quote unquote a holy man. But noch Erev Rosh Hashanah dazu, especially this was the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the day morning before Rosh Hashanah. Und hat den ring abgeschickt. So therefore, he sent back the ring to the woman he took it away from. Last Friday, hat sich kein Norma bewiesen afrei. In Norma, a woman showed up. Welche ist verlassen geworden von ihrem Mann. Harriet Rosenthal, her husband, Herman Rosenthal, left her, and he went somewhere in the west. He went to the west. Go west, young man. He went west.
Oh, vast, I said.
Sie hat erzählt, als hat sich geholfen, als wenn sie wird sich lassen gehen auf der Welt, wird sie gefunden ihr Mann. She said, so her story is that she dreamed that if she would start like wandering around this world, she would find her husband. So Mrs. Rosenfeld hat verblunget gleich kein Nummer. Mrs. Rosenthal hat verblunget. Verblunget means today they use as confused, but vermischt is confused. Verblunget is got lost.
Got lost.
Got lost? Gleich kein Norma. Right here. Or next door. Es versteht sich, als dort hat man sie gleich geraten zu gehen zu der Chaim Wavela. So, self-understood, this Aguna, this woman in shackles, is looking for her husband. In those days, they would actually go to rabbis, to tzaddiks, to find a solution who would pray for her, or sometimes there were stories actually that they would tell them where they will find her husband. They're miracle men. That's one of the words, the old tzaddiks, they were called seers. One of the reasons called seers, they have to see. And there's stories that even though they were seers, but they still had to pretend, so to speak, that they're seeing physically. So they would go on a roof, and they would look. They would make like a 380 and like look, and then they'll say where they can find their husband. This is in 1908, right here. So they told her go to the Chaim Wavela, who was still known then as the Messiah of Norma. Now this Lamed Vavnik hat die Frau aufgenommen. This Lamed Vavnik received this woman, Meiser Gute Yid, in the style of a tzaddik. A Gute Yid is an old Yiddish term for a tzaddik, good Jew. Und sie hat lassen warten in draußen von sein Heil, and she was waiting outside his cave. Don't know where the cave is today, maybe down here somewhere. Wenn is eine halbe Stunde herum, maybe you could find some of his Zohar, some of his books buried.
Right. What was he writing? Yeah.
Wenn is a halbe Stunde herum rausgekommen von dort, he made her wait for a half hour, came out a half hour later. Hat der Frau gesagt, als muss haben etwas a Zeichen von ihr als Skule zurückzubringen, der Mann. He told her, I must have some zeichen, some sign, some symbol, which will be a skula. A skula means a good omen, an amulet. Amulet. To bring back her husband. Mr. Rosenthal gave him her wedding ring. The Chaim Wavela is dann zurück verschwunden. Chaim Wavela then disappeared in sein Heil, in his cave. Und is sich mehr von der Frau nicht gewissen. He did not, never showed himself again to this woman. So Mrs. Rosenthal hat sich dann gewendet zu George. No, it's Judge. Judge. See, that's why you have to not to translate English.
So it's Moses Bayek.
It's Judge. It's written in Yiddish.
Justice of the peace.
Yes.
Judge Bayek.
George Bayek. I was like, George. I was like, there's another son we never knew about.
Jewish name.
Right, George, exactly.
Und
Yeah.
ist mit ihr gegangen zu der Heilige Heil, and he went together with her to the holy cave. By the way, we just came from Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is the day we celebrate of Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Chai's passing, one of the biggest mystical sages of the Talmud, who wrote the Zohar. He spent 12 years in a cave with his son.
Speak up a little.
He spent 12 years in a cave with his son, learning Kabbalistic stuff. So when you see such a story, all these other stories about righteous people come in the background. So he comes with her to this cave, und dort der Lamed Vavnik angesagt mit einem harten Wort. He told this Lamed Vavnik with the harsh terms, as a upsteckender meaning, he should give back the ring.
Give back the what?
The ring.
Oh, the ring. Yeah.
Zok. Oh, he tells him he should give back the ring. Sonst arrestiert man ihn bald. If not, we're going to arrest you. The Chaim Wavela hat den ring abgegeben. The Chaim Wavela gave back the ring. The Mashiach,
Chaim Wavela is the Mashiach, right?
the Messiah of Norma, they gave him a term,
Right.
hat wieder bekannt gemacht, als muss Chasna haben mit der 13-jährigen Tochter von dem Farmer Morris Klein. The Mashiach again made himself known that he must marry the 13-year-old daughter of the farmer Morris Klein.
Really? That took a turn.
I should look in here if there's Morris Klein in the index. Maybe one of you could look it up. Yeah, and when he says a muz, he must, he's probably saying that, that's pointed at mystical, holy forces. This has to be done. This is what he says. Quote, when ich bin gekommen her, when I arrived there, hat gegeben zu verstehen, he described, hat mich Morris Klein gefragt, Morris Klein asked me, how is it, was hab ich nicht chasnet? How is it that you're not married? And das ist mir rein tief in Kopf. Das ist mir rein tief in Kopf rein. This question entered tief in Kopf rein in my head. Ich hab wegen dem Chayke v'Yiddish gewinnt, I investigated by the Stern, by the stars, und in die heilige Swarm, in the holy books, aber ich hab kein Antwort nicht bekommen, I did not receive any answer. Ich hab dann verstanden, dass ich muss gehen nach Heche. Then I understood that I must go even higher. I must reach somewhere higher than the stars. Und zu fragen an Eitzel Mekech Hazayin, to seek an advice regarding this topic. Nachten by Nacht, last night, now remember this is the night before Rosh Hashanah, bin ich gewen in Himmel, I was in heaven. Men hat mich gevraagd for God, they brought me before God, et mir befeuillen, ihr soll gasten haben mit Rosie Klein. God commanded me to marry Rosie Klein. So wird das Tage müssen sein, and so it must be, God will us, because God wills this. B'schus zeh, schus is merit. B'schus zeh, wird sie gebencht und ihre Familie heilig. In this merit, she will be blessed, gebencht, and her family will be heilig. Heilig means holy. Those that know Nachum Heilig, who used to live here, his original name was Kadosh, which means holy. Chaim Velvle is dan zurück verschwunden geworden in sein Heil. Afterwards, Chaim Velvle disappeared again in his cave. Die mehr verständige Eden von Norma, the more understanding Jews of Norma, und arumige Gegenden and the surrounding Gegends are neighborhoods, haben schon an mehr zu werden von diesem Mashiach. Und sie wollten gewollt, soll sich mufen. They begin, haben meat zu werden. They become tired from this Mashiach, and they want him to move.
Right.
Let him find somewhere else and find another
13-year-old
victim.
farmer's daughter. Yeah.
That's what the mufen, by the way. Mufen wasn't a word in the old country. Probably not. Mufen is a Yiddish word. And this is when you start seeing in the Yiddish press Yinglish words. And in fact, there was a protest. I think this was in the 1970s. You're seeing photos of it. The protest outside the Yiddish forwards against the sprinkling of English words in the Yiddish press. They called it potato English. So here is an example, and these actually pictures where you see them holding posters against the potato Yiddish. Sie hoffen zu gewinnen dem Eigentümer von der Platz. They hope to find the landlord of this place, maybe it was a Meyerfield, wo der Heil gefindt sich, where this cave is, und in Betten, soll dem Lamed Vavnik machen zu mufen. Forced to evict this Lamed Vavnik. This is the end of this article. I found some other articles, but I'm not going to take up this whole morning talking about this. This is probably a book in its own, and everyone here maybe has to sign an NDA that if any book was to be written about it,
You're going to write it.
I claim the rights. So it's interesting what type of characters were here and how Yiddish this place was, not only in language, but in in faith, in law, in practice, in belief, in all these other things. Take a moment to ask questions or.
Sure. Yeah, I think we should kind of segue to the post-Holocaust folk because, they're the topic for today. And I wonder, like that article seems like it came from like a very different world. Like that there would be a newspaper article that would report that in so much detail seems insane to me. But I wonder. It seems like what we were talking about earlier with the. With Judge Levin and the trees and all that are like a more modern era, but it seems like they still kind of, like you were saying, they preserved Yiddish as almost like as a political statement of remaining distinct and yeah.
I have a question though about that article. So where was it published?
It was published in the Wahrheit.
What is that?
It's a newspaper, if you want to know, talk about Yiddish newspapers at a time, but it's a whole other topic about even the Yiddish people here. Wahrheit is a translation for truth. It was probably a communist paper, I'm guessing, because Wahrheit, for some reason the socialists claimed that term. I know in the Soviet Union, they had the Pravda. The Pravda is truth in Russian, and they had a Yiddish one called the Emes. Emes is truth in Hebrew, but it's also a Yiddish word. And the way they spelled it, they spelled the Hebrew, even usually in Yiddish language, when you spell a Hebrew word, you spell it as it's spelled in Hebrew.
Was that a national newspaper, a local newspaper? What was it?
I don't know. That's
I mean, it wasn't like there was a newspaper here in Violent of Yiddish.
they distributed Yiddish.
It was a forward. My father.
Yeah, but that was all over. But that was everywhere. I mean, so what I'm asking is that article in?
Yes.
I mean,
I didn't know that.
Okay, so Lazer,
just curious.
let's move forward in history a little bit and talk about maybe the chickens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the chickens. Interesting. So speaking Yiddish to the chickens, I pointed out the first time that on the mural here, we have the center, this side. Each side is another of the first three settlers. I mean, one of the three of a dozen or 2 dozen, depending on who you ask. And the one right here, his name was Isaac Krosenstein, and he was the Chassid, known to be the Chassid. As you can see here, he was a Breslov Chassid. A Breslov Chassid is those that have ever heard of Breslov. It's a very interesting Hasidic group that only had one Rebbe back like 250 years ago. Usually Hasidic groups are a dynasty. When a Rebbe passes away, someone else takes over, usually a son or a student. Here, no one ever else took over. And he wrote interestingly stories as well. Some of the stories are pure folk tales or old fairy tales about kings and princesses, and his Hasidim till today read and tell those stories. And if you can read those stories, they have almost zero reference to anything Judaism, anything Torah. But it ends up being a parable about God and the soul being in exile, and the soul yearning for God, different things like that. So he is also known to be saying quip stories and witty stories. And one of the stories attributed to him was why is it important for to have a Rebbe at all? Like, couldn't we like just learn how to be good people on our own without a Rebbe, without a teacher? So he wrote a story of there was an insane, what do they call it? Insane asylum. There was someone who pretended to be a chicken. That he decided he was a chicken, and he acted like a chicken. And people were looking how to get him out of this possessed spirit. So they were all different people came up with different ideas, and then one smart man decided, he said, I'll take care of it. Smart man said, I'm a chicken too. He went under the table, and he started, going on 4 legs and making noises like a chicken and doing all things like a chicken did, and pucking and picking, and in the morning he would do at the Yiddish they would go kukarikoo, right? Like all the Yiddish stories that would always wake up in the shtetl to daven with the sound of kukarikoo. That's the cock crows in Yiddish. And then this person decided, it started little by little, like acting more human, doing different things. First he started picking up one leg, one hand, and then he said, this is what we do. And then he said, we're not, and they got him to go to stand up both feet, and then he started again to talk normal. And he told, says, even though you're a chicken, you can still do this, you can still do that. So he cured this person from pretending to be a chicken. Now, how is this explained? What parable is this? So the Rabbis wouldn't explain the parable, you have to explain it on our own. And the way I understand it is, a Rebbe is speaking about a Khan, we just spoke about a Khan holy man, a real holy man. They have like messengers from a God, they're holy people, but they're still human, right? And they are like examples that even though we're still human, we can still act holy. Just because we're human and we have our beastly desires, we could, we could want to do all these other things, but we could also train ourselves to act holy. And he's a human that's being an example. So when I saw this title, Speaking Yiddish to Chickens, and I saw the Breslov Chassid, I thought just to being alive what it means to be a Breslov Chassid. And
how do you see chicken in Yiddish?
It's a good question. I think if Gail was here, we'll have an argument about that.
What would the argument be?
So there is a Yiddish word for chicken. It's like a Russian word called kurnitz or kurnitzer. And maybe in the Yiddish press they would start using the word chicken. But some people use oif. Oif is a Hebrew word for oifus.
Well, this is like a bird, I
Yiddish
thought.
word
Yes.
for chicken is chicken.
See, there you go. That's a potato Yiddish.
Potato Yiddish, yeah. How come chicken legs are kosher?
Yeah, I got that question forever.
It's about the process.
Well, the chicken legs, how are you saying it in Yiddish?
Same
I don't know.
That's where you can make gribbenes out of.
Hebrew, it's
A
Hindu.
gribbinus?
Yes. And this I'm telling you not as a rabbi, but maybe as a future moil. By the way, I think he was a moil too. Isaac Kronstein must have been a moil. And by the way, going back to when the Christians the first Christians, the Italians that were here, when they described in their press about the Jews coming here, they left out that they kind of like Christianized the Jews. They used the Christian terms for Jews, and with the first circumcision, they called it Christian, what they call Christianhood, Christendom, took place here. And speaking about a moil, don't record me, and I'm not telling you this as a rabbi, I'm telling you maybe as a future moil, never buy gribness from a moil.
We put the gribbinus in chopped liver, makes it good.
Oh, I have chopped liver here, by the way, for anyone who wants afterwards. How does the Yiddish term, what am I chopped liver, where does that come from? We spoke about it last time?
Did we?
I don't know. But let me start a topic according to Helen. So a reminder here to stay on topic. Norman asked me about the word yeka. Where does the yeka come from? So, interesting, the first Jews that came here were mostly from Eastern Europe, I believe. Again, I'm not a historian. From from the Pale, which was called the Pale settlement, right? Russian Jewish speaking Jews, or maybe Polish, and the first immigrants that came here in the second or third wave were those escaping Nazi Germany. And I think this was already before the Holocaust. And usually, I mentioned this the first time, the Western Jews from Germany looked down on the Eastern Jews. They called them Ostjuden. And they were embarrassed of Yiddish. They were embarrassed of Yiddish theater. The German Jews in the Lower East Side, or the Upper Lower East Side and 6th Street area, would protest against Yiddish theater. They wanted to close down Yiddish theater because it's embarrassment of the Jews. And they called the Yiddish language jargon. But what happened here in the late 1930s and 1940s was actually the other way around. And I'm just gonna, maybe just for the sake of diversifying, do you want to read this passage here?
Sure.
The
roughly 140 German and Austrian refugee farm families didn't feel welcome by the existing Jewish community in Vineland. Established American-born Jews called them Yekkes, a derogatory reference to their reputation for fastidiousness. German refugees sensed that they embarrassed more established descendants of Vineland's original Russian Jewish settlers. Quote, "We were poor, they were well off," recalled one German Jewish refugee. It was, quote, "it was language, it was background, then they thought we were stuck up because we discussed literature and classical music," end quote. A son of German refugees who moved to a Vineland poultry farm at the age of 13 recalled, quote, "We were always the poor refugees in the eyes of the Russian Jews." Wait, this is after the Holocaust? No, it's like during, kind of, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
They escaped, I
They
see.
escaped before.
Yeah.
German Jewish refugees similarly felt treated like inferiors in other communities where they settled, an inverse of the dynamic that played out a half century earlier in New York and elsewhere. Then, more established German Jews looked down on newer Eastern European arrivals as an embarrassment and a burden. Right, we talked about that more last time, but there were like the upper class Germans lived in New York City, and they were the patrons of the original settlers here.
Temple Emmanuel. And places
Exactly,
like
that whole crew. Yeah, exactly, right. The Temple Emmanuel crew.
Yeah.
Right, but that's interesting. And wait, and did they speak a different dialect of Yiddish? Ostensibly?
So, the German, know where they're exactly coming from, if they even spoke Yiddish, because later it says that they would hold evenings where they would discuss German philosophy, and that's what they kept separate between the earlier immigrants who were maybe more Yiddish and these who maybe more German. Depending if they escaped from Nazi Germany, in other words, they were before the Nazis came to Poland, so they may have been more Germanic Jews, so maybe they didn't even speak Yiddish yet.
So was that your family, Jew?
Well, my parents came from Germany.
And they didn't speak Yiddish?
No.
As did mine.
And they spoke German?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So I guess that,
Right. But as soon, we talked about, but the Jews that came here from Poland had spoken different Yiddish than the Jews that came here from Russia. And they mentioned this also in the book somewhere. I have my index in my notes, but I'm not going to bore you. Just in short, there's like the academics maybe divided to like 4 different Yiddish dialects. There is the Eastern Yiddish dialect, and there's a Southern Yiddish dialect, and that's what mostly I could talk about. The Eastern Yiddish dialect itself is divided into 2. So there is the Lithuanian Yiddish dialect, which is the mine Yiddish I spoke. Also, some people call it the Russian or the Belarusian. And for example, we would say Kogel, but the Southern Yiddish dialect would say Kegel. A much more distinctive difference is we would say was as in what, and the Southern will say vus. In modern day Israel, they would call Ashkenazi food vus, because the Jews always say vus. So they call it vus. But that's more the southern Yiddish dialect. Now,
Is there any dialect in
there
which
is a
your name
stem-
would be said loser?
Oh. It's a good one. It's a good
You
one.
said that to me.
My name is Lazer, right? Everyone, I don't know if everyone knows what's the origin of the name Lazer. So for new generation and youngers back there, probably thinking laser sound like laser gun, laser beam, or laser, or major laser.
I thought of Lazar, more L-I-Z-A-R.
Lazar, maybe even more of an Americanized way to saying it. The Yiddish way is actually Lazer. It's Yiddish Lazer for Eliezer. It's Yiddish for Eliezer. And you take away the aleph, the L, it comes Lazer. Actually, it goes even back in the Talmud. You see that too. That a lozer can become lozer. Side note: some people claim that Yiddish, the origin of Yiddish, is actually Aramaic. It's another whole discussion. So people want to know where the origin of Yiddish. Laser would be in my spoken Yiddish, right? Eastern, Western Yiddish, and Polish or Hungarian Yiddish, they would say loser.
See? You missed the
I heard.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's a comedian, and he came up with a shtick, like if I could a shtick like this, this person's called up the Torah, right? And the person's name is Loser, and his father's name is Rafal. Raphael. How would you say Rafal in the Yiddish? So in my Yiddish, you'll say Falle. Actually, I know people that name Falle, but how would they say it in their Yiddish is Fool. So he called him Loser Ben Fool.
Wow.
So there's we can see the dialects can make a difference.
That's some very niche comedy there.
The accent could be so different that there were times that some people they actually needed, even though they spoke the same language, they needed an interpreter. In fact, this is now there's a controversy about the Haredi Jews being enlisted in the army, right? So it goes back to Ben Gurion, the first prime minister in Israel. Since at that time there was only like 400 yeshiva boys, he made a pact with the ultra-Orthodox to preserve the ultra-Orthodox way of life after the Holocaust. He made a pact with them that they are exempt from the army, and he had a meeting. I'm confusing conflating two stories.
Okay, let's move on.
If they voted with him,
What's that?
if they voted with him in the Knesset, that's how he lured them into the.
Right. We're going to go off topic. I'm sorry. Ben Gurion was anti-Yiddish, so maybe we shouldn't talk about him. He wanted to stop all Yiddish. Okay. So going back to
Since we
the
have only like maybe 10 minutes or so, why don't we pull it back to some chicken? What are you gonna?
I was going back to the Yekka.
Oh,
So the German Jews were called Yekka. Does anyone know why they were called Yekka?
we said the fastidiousness.
So I don't know what that means. Oh, fastidious, like punctuality?
Yeah, like exacting, like
How
detail
does that,
oriented.
what does that relate? So a Yekka is a term for someone who comes in time in Yiddish. Someone who's very punctual, right? Because the Germans were called Yekkas, and the Germans, till today, their trains are come in time. But the actual origin of the term, a Yekka is a short jacket. Because the German Jews wore short jackets, and the Eastern Jews still wore longer jackets.
Longer jackets, like Hasidic garb, more like with the.
I'm not even sure if even Hasidic, maybe even not Hasidic, maybe they still wore their longer frocks. The short jacket was a German Western thing. There's more information here about the schism between the German Jews and the Yiddish Jews, but I don't know if we could.
Well, I don't.
We want to talk about the chickens.
Yeah, I'd like to get some of because that's
The
our
eggs.
eggs. Yeah. So it seems like there were Jews who had. It seems like ultimately Vineland became known for kosher poultry.
Yes.
And the big slaughterhouses where they did kosher slaughter of chickens. Not I guess eggs by extension, but primarily I think people know. Even people I meet still today know. Oh, Vineland, it's the kosher poultry. Like that's sort of a remaining legacy.
Yes.
That was really from this community.
Right. and that's why you have the egg on the eggs on the mural here. So again, I'm not the historian of Vineland, but I know growing up also we always heard of Vineland about the. I'm a little bit of an old timer about Vineland is synonymous with the poultry, and one of the reasons why the Jews actually gravitated towards chicken farms is because it was getting hard to learn how to farm. The Holocaust, mostly the Holocaust survivors that came here, a lot of them were even professionals. Some of them were even doctors and lawyers back in the old home, but they couldn't make a living here otherwise. And to learn how to farm was already considered a lost cause, and there has a lot of, even they talk about in the Old Yiddish press, the churban from Yiddish farmers. Churban means the destruction, the demise, the decline. So Yiddish, so poultry was rising, more particularly about raising eggs. But one of the other reasons is because, as opposed to raising animals on a farm, it was easier to keep Shabbos if you raised chickens than if you had a farm, because all you have to do is just feed them on Shabbos. Didn't take much
Pretty
more.
self-sufficient.
But I think actually there was more. There was other things that had to be done.
Milking cows would be harder because you have to milk the cows, right?
But that's why they ended up having Shabbos goy, right? The term Shabbos goy is when you had a non-Jew who did the work for you, but you couldn't tell them directly what to do, because then they are your messenger, and as if they're doing it for you, so it's violating the Shabbos. So instead, they would hint them indirectly, tell them what to do, or they would already know from so many years. Till today, on Sons of Jacob, sometimes I go outside and the neighbors and they say, "Oh, I already know." You know? Maybe they even know some Yiddish. Maybe they even know the word "new." All you have to tell them is "new." By the way, what's the translation of the word "new"? Anyone know? Not in Goyish, in Yiddish.
It's like, what's up? It's like, what's up?
So it depending when and where, right?
I went into a shop writing like up on 130 here, on this side of New Brunswick. I can't tell you where. It was 30 years ago, and I was looking for some kosher meat, this, that, and they had Empire kosher chicken. Then they also had Vineland kosher.
Oh,
I
wow.
like from Mr. Rob.
When I moved here about 25 years ago, they still had that kosher Vineland slaughterhouse open. And on Fridays, my husband would go and get a fresh chicken for Shabbos night. And it hasn't been that long since they closed it. Lasse, when did they close that Vineland?
It's about 15 years ago.
Interesting.
You can still get it in Florida.
Thanks for bringing me back to the
They moved
topic.
the whole plant to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Layer brothers.
Helen, thanks for bringing me back to the topic. By the way, which reminds me, I used to be, every Jewish woman knew how to salt the chicken. It actually, the siddur, there's a siddur just for women, which is in Yiddish. Yiddish, because you know it was the language of the less educated, and the women didn't usually go to cheder. So Yiddish was the language they had access to. And when someone would get married, they would grant their wife a siddur in Yiddish. It's called a carbon mincha siddur. Has their things that women need to know, and one of them is about how to salt the chicken, because they would go to the marketplace, they would go buy a chicken, and then they would salt it on their own. And the salt they would use was thick salt, and that's where the term kosher salt comes from, because it's used to kosher chickens. The reason why you use thick salt, because the thin salt could have become absorbed into chicken, and then you have a problem that the blood is being back absorbed. So the thick salt could be washed down. That's where the kosher salt comes from. Back to the word "new." Just a second, or maybe you want to. This is Jewish style, yes. The Lamed Vavnik, you want to say something? What's your name, by the way?
What's your name?
Murray. I'm going to end off with Murray. Yes.
A lot of cooks will only, the chefs will only use the kosher salt, the coarse salt, in their cooking.
Oh.
They don't use the other salt.
Yeah, but all salt is kosher, just by definition, unless it has some additives.
How do you say salt? Well, Yiddish is salt. Is salt. Salz. Oh, right, like Salzwasser from the Seder. salt water.
Yes. So
I learned how to say the 4 questions in Yiddish when I was a little kid, and I like practiced it a million times, and then I recited it at my Seder. That was my first experience of being like a clever little girl, and everyone was so pleased. And ever since, that's my only Yiddish. Should I say it?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay, great. Guys, I know, I have another. Can I say it? No.
Can I say my new joke?
Okay, say your new joke, please. Say your new joke, and then I'll say it.
So it depends when and where you say new. You know, if you're by the Seder, and your child is playing around some in the kitchen looking for that Vikomen, and you really wanted to go say that Manashtana, so new means it's your turn to go and say Manashtana. If you're a little more orthodox and you don't talk after you wash your hands for a motzi, right? You wash your hands, a ritual washing hands, and you want a motzi, but you look at the table and you realize there's no salt, there's no salt. So you want to say, Chana, bring the salt, but you can't talk. So you go, no, and they get it, right? Or if you're by a wedding and there's a chuppah, right? And there is by at the wedding one of the bride's friends is there, and she's also ripe age, and the aunt turns to the bride's friends, and during the chuppah she goes, no. So no there means something else. So as they said, so it depends. Like Yiddish, it depends on the context. Now, your Manashtana in Yiddish.
Fine. Tata, well, yeah, okay, so it was Tata Levin, ich will der fragen de 4 kashes, right? Dear Father, may I ask you the 4 questions? Then, was is the Nacht von Pesach anders von alle Nacht von a ganz Jahr? Why is this night of Pesach different than all other nights? And then I have the erste kasha, I got the zweite kasha, I got all the kashas. I'm not going to do the whole thing, I'm embarrassed, but, thank you. Yeah, if you come back for the Seder, I'll regale you with the full thing. But that was my big.
Wow, thank you so much. Is anyone
Thanks.
come back for the Seder?
Come back for the Seder.
By the way, does anyone know the word kasha, what it means?
Well, we're throats.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so in Hebrew,
Kusha.
kasha means question. But in Yiddish, kasha can mean, and it's also an argument if kasha could mean porridge, or it's a general term for grain. And buckwheat, as people call it, schwarze kasha, means black buckwheat. Some people hear the word schwarz, they already think schwarz is just a word in Yiddish, means black kasha. And I want to end off with Yiddish theater because I saw that there was a great Yiddish actor. His name is Maurice Schwartz. I mentioned him last time. He did Tevye in Yiddish. You heard of him? He looked a little like you.
He's the Schwartz.
What's that?
He's the Schwartz.
Oh, you're Maurice Schwartz?
Meyer.
So this is Maurice Schwartz. Maurice Schwartz. I recommend everyone to see it in black and white with the English subtitles. And if you want to have a feel, some of those Yiddish films were filmed in South Jersey, and some of them in Jericho, Long Island. And there's a scene there in one of there is a movie called Little Mother, Malya with none other than Molly Picon. She later was a Yiddish in Finland. She was the Yenta in Finland. She was a singer, and she's just in Malya she sings. Probably some of you know the song. Wie gesinnt kann man glücklich sein. You know that song, a Wie gesinnt, only health would be glücklich. Or Yidel mit dem Fiedel, Beidel mit dem Bass. She sings it in this film. It's a really cute film. And at some point they're having a meal in the sukkah. And one of the kids in the thing asks a question. Someone else in the thing says, Frag dich kein Kashas. Don't ask any, don't ask questions. You tell a kid, don't ask any kasha. Pesach, beim Seder. It's a fragen kasha, right? But it's an expression when someone asks kasha, you say, by the Seder, that's when you ask your kasha. Right now, es kasha, es the kasha, eat the kasha. So, there's a lot more we could schmooze about and talk about. This ends the formal part.
Sure.
There was in this area, there was something called a Yiddish shula at a Sunday morning. So this is kind of reviving the Yiddish shula with Yiddish school for the children. They wanted to keep the Yiddish language alive. It lasted for up to a certain period.
It was like Hebrew school, but just for Yiddish.
Exactly. And where they learned Yiddish poems and Yiddish speaking Yiddish. And maybe some people here maybe remember it, I'm not sure. Maybe Gail did, I don't know if it existed at that time. Schule means school in German. And it's the same, actually, it's, Yiddish and is German is Anglo-Saxon, that's where the word school comes from, Schule. CH in English could be shul in Yiddish, so Schule is school. And a shul also comes from that. But the way you say school in Yiddish is shula. So maybe this could end up being our Sunday shula, or our Yiddish shula, if we go on more than the 4 Sundays. And next one, it takes place.
Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for being here again. Thank you to the Salem County Historic Commission, and also thank you to the Board of Jewish Education of Atlantic and Cape May counties. Everyone is welcome. First of all, we'll have our final session, where we'll talk about, called End of an Era, where we'll kind of talk about the ending of the era of Jewish farming here and sort of what remains and what continues on. That will be the last Sunday in June, June 29th. You're all welcome back here, 11 a.m. You're also welcome to stay and schmooze and share your own reminiscences about Yiddish culture during this era. The beach we didn't get into so much, but I would love to hear more. I would love to hear more schmoozing about what went on there. I heard there was some funny business in the woods next door. I'd like to hear if anyone has
That's not my
anecdotes about
department,
that.
but if that brings you back.
I like that type. I like the juicy stuff. So if anyone wants to share that, I'm like to hear.
Where was the rabbi on Sunday mornings?
Where was the rabbi? Exactly.
That's the title.
Can we do a field trip to Norma Beach?
That would be so fun.
That would be so, yeah.
We should.
Maybe a cleanup day.
It's not far away, is it?
By the way, I looked up, there was old articles already in the 1960s and 70s about the trash on the Norma Beach.
Yeah.
All the schmutz.
But also there's a lot more bagels and spreads. There's coffee in the kitchen. Everyone's welcome to stay and hang out. Please, Josh.
And I don't want to talk a little Yiddish. I'm still here.
Just quick, if anyone's interested, we are going to be showing the Alliance movie on Thursday at Margate at the JCC. So I know it's about 45 minutes from here with no traffic, so hopefully that is and it's going to be at the JCC in Margate Thursday the 29th. It starts at 6:30, and Susan, who's the director, will be there, as well as Dr. Concancella, in charge of the Alliance Heritage Foundation. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Josh. And also, another.
We're good. Just wanted to plug the local.
I want to make another a little bit of another public service announcement we have here. Garrett, who is pretty new regular at the Sons of Jacob show. People wondering where Sons of Jacob are going. Some of them Wildwood started coming to show. He means his father sometimes. He's also he can read Hebrew, so sometimes he goes up there and reads some of the stuff. It's nice. It's nice to have a new arrival, as they called it in Fiddler on the Roof. And this coming next week, Mondays, Sunday night and Monday and Tuesday is the holiday Shavuos. So everyone is invited to come Monday morning for the Ten Commandments. Helen last year brought her blumen, her blossoms, her flowers. She wasn't in there, but she sent it, and we're looking forward to have it again. David brought some of his produce last time. We're looking forward to maybe Peter will make his cheesecake. Norman read a Torah last year. Remember that? Beautifully. So Sons of Jacob is alive and well. And thank you for the Jewish Federation for the Seder and the support you gave, Phyllis. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it in Yiddish. So and Blossom comes also once in a while for the holidays. So Monday morning, 10 o'clock, davening and Torah and Ten Commandments, followed by Kiddush, and you're all welcome.
And Tuesday as well, right?
Tuesday as well. I'm just trying to keep it concentrated, but Monday or Tuesday. So if Monday you happen to be going to Carmel, like maybe David, you could come Tuesday.
And what's that date?
Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, 10, June 2nd and June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Yes.
That's why primary day was moved up.
Thank you.
Now June 10th.
Hey, why did the Rebbe always give out $1? What was that all about?
Oh, $1 is a grina. It's a very interesting question. Why the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe,
He passed away.
he used to give out dollars on Sunday morning,
Is
actually.
that what it was on Sunday?
On Sunday morning,
Like greenback.
his last 2 years of his life, he spent hours handing out dollars. Norman went there once in the 70s. He got $1 from the
He
Rebbe.
went back in line and got it.
Norman has an interesting story.
Leave me alone.
And also, those that know Mrs. Decker, what's his first name?
Who?
Decker from Philadelphia. She was. So the Rebbe would. It was very into spreading mitzvot.
Okay.
And making people a messenger to do mitzvot. You meet another Jew, make the Jew do another mitzvah, or anyone, not even non-Jews would come. Charity is something for everyone. Everyone, yeah, sure, anyone came. And so he would give $1 and making you a messenger to give $1 to charity. Now, most people will hold on to the dollar as a skula, the word we had in the beginning, as a good omen because of the Rebbe's dollar. So they would exchange it. Instead, they would hold on to the dollar, frame it, and they would give their own dollar to tzedakah. I think you have a tzedakah pushka out today. There used to be Jewish events, even when they would come play cards. They would have for a Jewish cause. There's a pushka out there for what cause?
Anyone who'd like to support Alliance Community Reboot, which is the organization that William and I co-founded, that's dedicated to preserving and creating events like this to continue Jewish life in this immediate area and the history of farming, is welcome to give a donation in the pushka. We would appreciate it.
What Yiddish song does everyone know, or most people know, others could sing along? Oh, wow. That's Hebrew. Does everyone know that song? By Mr. Shane?
Yeah.
It's a English one. Bei mir bist du schön, bei mir bist du it, bei mir bist du fire für die Welt. By mir you're Shane, you're beautiful, by mir you're it, by mir you're tired from the Welt, you're more precious than the world. By mir, by the way, this is if he those are wondering why Rabbi is singing this is a reference to the Torah and to Hashem. By mir bist du Shane, by mir bist du Shane, by mir bist du tired from the Welt. Dein Shane, dein Shane, hey, lach, dein weiße Zehn, der Lach, deine von der Welt. Bist du schön, bei mir bist du schön, bei mir bist du Teil von der Welt. Dein schöne Hair, Lach, your beautiful hair, dein weiße Zehn, der Lach, your white teeth. Deine dun, 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 dun. From the world. This is all from Song of Songs describing the Torah is considered hot, sweet as milk. That's what we eat. Dairy and cheesecake. Bei mir bist du schön, bei mir bist du schön, bei mir bist du Teil von der Welt. Or another one. Schön wie die Levone, lichtig wie die Sterne, von Himmel an Matone, hast du mich beglückt. Schön wie die Levone, beautiful like the Levone, like the moon, lichtig wie die Sterne, bright like the stars. Von Himmel an Matone, from the heaven, like the Lamed Vavnik was sent to heaven. Von Himmel am Matone, a gift. Right? The Torah is a gift. Hast du mich beglückt, you beglückt me, you gave me glick, you grant on me. Schön wie die Levone, lichtig wie die Sterne, von Himmel am Matone, hast du mich beglückt. Now this is the part I sang before this song. Deine Hähne lacht, deine Zähne lacht. Hast du mich Ziegezeugen? Deine Dölle lacht, deine Dölle lacht. Hast du mich... Oh, I don't know. Your hair and your teeth has Batzeugen attracted me. Schenk die Levonne, licht wie die Sterne von Himmel am Matone. This is from the Barry sisters, right? Barry sisters. Some swing. Swing Sunday morning swing dancing. There's the Barry sisters.
All right, he's warmed up now, guys. We're gonna.
Good on the roof, they said. You know why now it's complete to mixed dancing, right? Last it comes to mixed dancing. So no mixed dancing in the rabbi supervision.
Yeah, everybody's welcome to stay again. Share, have more bagels and treats. Check out the mural if you haven't, because it's really beautiful and it's a gorgeous day.
I'll walk out there to.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you
Pardon me.
next month.